Hey everybody, it's Richie 3 Jack here with another week in review for November 11th, 2012. I just got back from watching the last tournament of the year on the PGA Tour, the Children's Hospital event at Disney, where Charlie Beljan, he won his first ever victory. That also propelled him into the top 125, and actually it propelled him into the top 70, which means he'll get all the invitations to all the invitational events for next year. He also had some health issues going into after the Friday round because he was leading after Friday. It sounded like he probably just had some. He's probably dehydrated a little bit, which tends to happen. Those type of symptoms that he had tends to happen where they accelerated heartbeat, stuff like that. You got to really keep yourself hydrated on the course. However, when I say that, though, it's funny because I was reading an article about a year ago about how people, especially runners, they tend to overdo it with hydrating themselves, and then they can get waterlogged, and that can be just as dangerous as being dehydrated. And what's really dangerous about being waterlogged is that it has almost the same symptoms as being dehydrated with the cramps and stuff like that. But so what happens, you see a lot of runners, what they do is they think they're dehydrated but they're actually waterlogged because they got the same symptoms, and then they just keep on drinking, and then they really do harm to themselves. It's not to say that you shouldn't be drinking water, and more people probably are more dehydrated than actually overdoing with being waterlogged, but it's something you just have to be careful with either way. But anyways, good news for Charlie Beljan. He's a guy that I really have been following lately because he is one of those players that my metrics show that he's the type of guy that would has got a lot of potential in him because he generates a lot of club head speed. And he's a very good ball striker, especially from long distance. I just did the numbers for driving effectiveness, and he's going to finish 4th in the year on tour in driving effectiveness. And he was in the top 10 in danger zone play. I got to calculate those numbers. I haven't done that yet, but pretty much from here on out, I'm going to be starting up on getting most of the player analysis for Pro Golf Synopsis, which again will be out hopefully before the new year. That's probably what I'm shooting for. So anyways, congratulations to Charlie Beljan on that. I've been looking at the top 125 list. A lot of good players made the final cut. You see Roberto Castro made it, Boo Weekley made it. He finished at 108th on the money list this year, Boo Weekley did. I've actually been following Boo Weekley on Shot Tracker, and I made a Twitter comment that if you follow Boo Weekley on Shot Tracker, it's really, if you're a fan of his, it's usually an exercise in frustration because he hits it really, really, really well, and he putts it really, really badly. In fact, we saw that with Charlie Beljan this week. He does not really putt it very well, but he hits it so well. But if you can figure it out and maybe get into things like AimPoint and get a better putting instructor or somebody to help him out with the putting, you could, sky's the limit. He's the type of guy that, one thing I like about guys that hit it really, really long is that puts them at a big advantage coming the Masters. So I know I've argued this with people, but really the Masters it's now a bomber's course. So guys like him can just go out and bombs away. But he was also in the top 10 for most of the year in danger zone play. So he does have some skill. He's not just a pure bomb and gouge guy. He's got some skill from deep distance. Tim Herron made it. He finished 124th on the money list. I had number 125 on the money list at 660,000 and change. $125 on the money list this year was Kevin Chappell, who had $647,510. Tim Herron actually was at $660,000. He was 124th on the money list. Jerry Kelly did not make it. I think he's got a. From what I recall, if you are 126 through 150 on the money list, you are exempt on the Q School to the final event at the Q School, so you don't have to go through the other qualifying rounds. Billy Mayfair missed it. Rod Pampling missed it. Gary Christian, he missed it as well. He was kind of an interesting player because he's 40 years old, but he's a very, very good ball striker. He struggled this year early on, especially on the greens and around the greens, but he got better and better and better. And I was thinking that, if he's a guy that I would probably look out next year for, because I think he can qualify through Q School again, and I think he's got the ball striking, and now he's got the experience, especially around the greens, to probably do something next year. I think he's a very talented player. Justin Leonard didn't make it. I don't know what his status is yet. Same with Billy Horschel. I think Camilo Villegas, I think he's pretty much Q School bound because he's at 144th on the money list. Same with Heath Slocum and Russell Knox. They didn't make it either. Anyway, this week we looked at, talked about some AimPoint stuff. It's gotten to the point now where pretty much most of my readers know about AimPoint through and through. What I've been trying to work on now is more along the lines of practicing AimPoint, because I see a lot of people, they go to a clinic and they like AimPoint, but they kind of give up on it. Part of what it is that you got to figure out, you got to kind of replace your typical putting where you grab 3 balls and putt away, and start using that practice towards AimPoint. If you got your AimPoint down, if you got your reads better, your speed will be better, or your distance past the cup. There's a video that I've shown before of from one of my top 25 putting instructors, a guy named Errol Helling out in Tennessee, and he shows how your distance past the cup changes if your read is different. So if you read low, if you don't read enough break, your distance past the cup will be more. If you read it too high, your distance past the cup will be shorter than it usually would be for the same speed you hit the putt. But it's just something that people have to practice. I find initially feeling with your feet is something you really have to practice. But once you start to feel it, you can really understand it, and you kind of get it down pat. And there's other things I'll talk about. It's going to be kind of a series on practice thoughts on AimPoint that I think everybody could use. Lastly, I talked about, showed the swings of, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but I believe his name is Guan Tianlang. He's the golfer who's a 14-year-old. He's going to be playing the Masters, which is really mind-blowing, I think. I mean, I know a lot of kids these days are getting into golf earlier and earlier, but even back in my day, there was kids that were getting into golf. For example, Tiger Woods, who's the same age as I am, who got into golf, when they were 1 or 2 years old and playing it. But for him to, 14 years old, that's just incredible. He's got I like his swing for the most part. He gets a little laid off, I think, at the top of the swing, but what he does is he just maintains that laid off position. And it's not too drastic where it's going to really kill him. When I usually get laid off, my left arm playing gets too upright and my club gets too laid off, and then that's just kind of a disaster for me. But he doesn't have that upright left arm playing at the top of the swing like I do when I get laid off at times. But, you know, he's also got some really nice things there. You can see where his rear knee from address to the top of the swing has straightened clearly. You know, a lot of teachers don't like that. I personally prefer it. But if you're somebody like Keegan Bradley, you can keep the knee flex and still hit it great. I wouldn't change that. But you know, he's definitely one of those guys you would think that would has a lot of potential. It's going to be kind of coming to the point where he's going to have to decide if he wants to turn pro or go to college. That's kind of a tough decision. I remember talking this a while ago about Ty Tryon with some friends of mine, and you know, Ty Tryon I think was offered like $10 million or so from Callaway and some other endorsement companies. You know, there is no guarantee in golf, and you know, one of my problems with the PGA Tour is I believe, you know, I come from a marketing background as well as statistics. I kind of work in both areas. My belief is that when it comes to marketing, perception is much stronger than reality. So, you know, if you got something in the NFL, is a great example of a great job of marketing in sports. They constantly bring in new talent, and even these guys don't gain a yard or score a touchdown in their entire career. Going into their rookie season, they're supposed to be the greatest thing ever, and everybody buys into it, and they buy the jerseys, and they hype the players up, even if they turn out to be complete busts. Whereas in the PGA Tour, they usually 99% of the time, they want the golfer to win a few tournaments, and then they'll start promoting the golfer, and then he's got to keep on winning or they'll stop promoting him. Occasionally you'll see a golfer like Ricky Fowler who hasn't won, who at the time, you know, he was being heavily promoted, but he hadn't won anything at the time. Same way I kind of feel about Sergio is, I mean, he was heavily promoted, and he's never even won a major yet. Not to knock him, you know, majors are hard to come by. But, you know, I think about a guy like Tom Watson who never got half the endorsements of guys that Greg Norman and Sergio got, and he's won a lot more tournaments, and especially majors. I mean, the guy won 5 friggin' British Opens, and, you know, he's his big endorsement deal was with Ram, so go figure. Anyway, that'll be it for this week. Try to get some more stuff on the blog, but I'll be busy also working on Pro Golf Synopsis. I will have a column out this week for golfwrx.com. Again, I'll be one of the featured writers there, along with Tom Bushon and some other guys. And I'll be talking about is driving and some of the driving metrics on tour. So that's it. I'll talk to you then. Bye.